back on the internet. C. Durham asked Clive Davis, what artist's success surprised you the most?
The artist's success, well, I would say the very first one, when I had that epiphany, and I didn't know if I had a natural gift, I would say Joplin, you know, in Big Brother.
Yeah, because she wasn't a looker.
No.
I read in the book that she wanted to seal the deal by having sex with you, and you wisely said no.
You're very informed.
Yeah, I mean... Well, she also was a big drug. She must have stunk, and she just didn't look like someone you'd want to have sex with under any condition.
But I took it as the highest form of compliment.
Oh, of course.
She was not happy with a formal, sterile corporate signing. She wanted something more intimate.
Clive, there's something in between. It's called a handshake. You know. Okay. Maria, what do you think about the visa program in which foreigners can gain permanent residence by investing $500,000 in a U.S. project that creates jobs? Oh, there's a pathway to citizenship for most immigrants. Just come up with $500,000 and you're in.
And then you got straight. You know, this is the whole thing with the immigration debate, is what folks keep saying, well, should we legalize them or should we actually create a pathway to citizenship? Short of creating a pathway to citizenship for 11 million folks living within our borders, we're going to have two classes of folks living within our borders: Americans and then people that work for Americans. And that's not who we are. Like, we've already lived that history, and we need to have political courage in this moment in time, recognizing that this is the civil rights moment where we can actually become that big tent where people come out of the shadows, and actually, if they believe in America and their possibility here, that they can actually become Americans through a pathway to citizenship. Anything short of that, Bill, basically creates two sets of citizens living within our border.
I mean, and you should get in on this too, but I would fully agree that there are two sets of citizenship. There are basically two Americas. There's half of America who lives very well, and there's half of America who doesn't know where their meal is coming from. And it's not just immigrants. I mean,
it's not. But right now, folks, what folks are proposing on the
poor white people clapping. Hey, I'm poor and white. That's why I'm here at a free taping. That's the perfect date night for Friday night. It costs nothing.
Hey, but this is a fun date night. This is a fun date night. But I have to share with you, you know, the idea that people are proposing to have legalization for these folks, but not a pathway to citizenship, you're creating a permanent underclass. And by creating a permanent underclass, all of a sudden, you know, you start opening up a can of worms of whole things. What happens to those legal residents all of a sudden if they have children? Are they American citizens? Do we have to repeal the 14th Amendment? I mean, the idea of having folks that are basically stateless within our borders, 11 million of them, is not just wrong and immoral, but it's also not good for national security or for our economy. I mean, you go down the list. I mean, it's against our DNA as Americans and entrepreneurs.
By the way, that program you mentioned is actually, it works pretty well, and it attracts a lot of capital in the United States. A lot of people come in with $500,000, and that's their green card.
But you know what, this kind of
and
stuff
it works very well. Yeah, it does. It has worked pretty well.
So
we're selling it.
Right? No,
we're selling our citizens.
Right, but it's also dishonest
but
it's dishonest because we keep trying to claim to the American people and to the rest of the world that we don't need unskilled labor, but we do need unskilled labor, and so we need to create a type of immigration reform that actually provides the high skilled labor, but also that creates a path for the folks that are actually.
Look, does everything have to be for sale? I mean, I really feel like the root problem in this country is that everything has to be for profit, for private. This is the problem with the prisons. This is the problem with the healthcare system. The problem with the healthcare reform is not too much socialism, it's too much capitalism still. I just read it. You know, people think we do way more tests than other countries. Actually, we don't do that much more tests. It's just that the tests we do give to patients cost twice as much.
Charge a lot.
Here's a piece of cotton gauze. Could I have $28 for it?
Look, and a lot of countries
problem.
ride off of what's done in the U.S. You know, whether it's pharmaceuticals and the drugs that they're paying, you know, 1/5, 1/10 the price in other rich countries, and whether that makes sense is questionable. But on the immigration issues, look, I think it's exactly right that we ought to be looking across a skill distribution. We need more. We have a baby boom. It helps us if you fill in the baby boom with actual workers whose pay is going to support retirees. But when we were in the White House, one of the states, I can't remember what state, called and said, we're giving a guy Entrepreneur of the Year award. I think it was Ohio. We're giving him Entrepreneur of the Year award. But he's from India, and his visa's running out, and he's about to be deported. Can't you put it off till after the ceremony? But the answer was no.
Well,
the White House is not allowed to get involved in any.
Austin makes an important point. This is why
case.
Republicans are moving on this issue, because actually the business community really wants comprehensive immigration reform. The evangelical community desperately wants it. And so these are the two biggest constituencies of the Republican Party. And I think that's why you see a lot of Republicans like Marco Rubio saying we need to do something, we need to do it quickly.
Why does the evangelical community want it?
Because they think it's the right thing to do.
It's because they're actually, well, yes, but,
No,
but it's also their fastest growing demographic.
Right.
So in the rural.
There we go.
You are so cynical.
There we go.
Now the economist comes out.
Yes, customers.
But the
It's true. That's the same problem the Catholic Church has. When they look out in the pews, it's all white hair. Looks like a Broadway show.
Not in my parish.
No, but to
There are a lot of kids in my parish.
But to the evangelicals group's defense, they're filling up a lot of the role of government in rural areas where there aren't government services for these immigrants. So they're saying they recognize that in order to fill their pews, that they actually have.
And I just want to pick up what Maria said. Look, people get caught in the system, immigrants, particularly in jails and prisons, and they don't have the due process rights that any American has. And it is horrific. I mean, my grandparents came to this country from Ireland. Now, they couldn't pay $500,000. Now, John's could.
I wish, believe me.
Mine came from Ireland, too.
Mine came from Ireland,
Just
too.
a potato and a shillelagh.
Exactly.
Yes,
But the notion of, I've seen women go into prison and there's no beginning or end to this process. It just goes on for months into years. And it's un-American.
It's un-American, and it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
I mean, that's the problem. It's actually bankrupting this country. This is one of the many things. That and Medicare.
Nothing more American than money. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you coming and helping us out. Thank you, panel.
Real Time with Bill Maher, Friday night at 10. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.